everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kat. I'm a wife, a homeschool mom, and an avid reader. For everyone else, welcome back. It is the middle of February or March almost, and I have finally decided it is time to look at some of the books that I read in February. These titles they're the physical books are only some of the books I read. I did read some more on audio and on ebook, but I thought I would share with you some of them. Um, so let's jump in to my first read of February. First up in February, I read Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This one I did get in the November probably smut book box. And so if you want to know more about this one, I would recommend that you go there. As far as my thoughts on this one, I did give it 5 stars and 4 chili peppers. The tropes in this include forced proximity, age gap, fated mates, and lots of sarcastic banter. I really enjoyed this one, as obvious as giving it 5 stars, and tabbed it lots. Just really enjoyed especially the banter that was in this one. These two characters, Serena and Cohen, just really, their love language is sarcasm. So like I said, really enjoyed this one. It's been several years since I read the first one, Bride. But I think that I like this one even more. Up next, I read the Rake Forge Royals duology. This one also came from a Probably Smut book box. This was December of 2025. This one I gave 4 stars and 5 chili peppers. This one, I enjoyed the first book more than the second book overall, but I enjoyed the setup of the second book more than the first book. And to better explain that, in the first book of this duology, we have a lot of time jumps along with point of view jumps. And so you really have to be paying attention to the chapter headings where it tells you whose point of view it is along with when it was. So it kind of made it a little harder in that. And then in the second book, we have a more traditional timeline with the character jumps. And in that one, I had the first book on audio, but not the second book, because that one's not released yet for audio. And it really changed how much I enjoyed it. I think in the audio for the first book, they have 3 different narrators to represent the 3 different characters. And I think that would have helped me to keep straight who was who, or whose chapter was whom's, as I went through. But it was an enjoyable read. I did enjoy the mafia cartel trope, and found family trope. Not as big of a fan of the love triangle slash threesomes that we had in this one, just because it was kind of weird. So there were, in my review notes, I did put that while the characters were likable, I did not really relate to them. And so some of that did change what I liked. One thing I will say is due to the book art in the dividers, I now can easily find the Little Dipper in our night skies. So that was a fun side effect of this book. After finishing the Rake Forge Royals duology, I went ahead and started another duology. And this one I originally ended up on my radar because the cover reminded me a lot of Butcher and Blackbird, and the book overall does give those vibes. So it was one that was kind of a happy accident. In this one, we are following Violet and Cade. Violet sends her information to a hacker via email, trying to get him to help her with an issue with her boss, who is just being kind of creepy. And in the process of this, the stalker sends her his personal information. Cade is this nerdy uh, vigilante, cyber vigilante, and regularly exposes senators and other politicians for the gross things that they are doing, the hypocritical, gross things that they do. In this one, I gave it 5 stars and 5 chili peppers. I did not want to put it down. It does end on a cliffhanger and led me to immediately pick up the next one, which was Beautifully Ruined. The tropes in these books include age gap, primal play, stalking, CNC, nerdy hero, dual POV, and that cliffhanger ending, along with exhibitionism in the second book. All the things in the first book are in the second book, but the addition of exhibition. There's a lot of kind of, and especially in the first book, Violet's character is very dual personality almost. There are a lot of moments where she is very bratty, but then she'll turn around and be very submissive. I mean, I guess technically that really is the definition, but the parts in it, there were a lot of parts in the first book that led to the second book, and we really see Violet's brattiness kind of mature into the same goals as Cade's. And so, very enjoyable. Definitely reminded me of Butcher and Blackbird. And I had a great time with these two books. After I read Sweetly Unhinged and Beautifully Ruined, those covers led me to my next read, which was Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. In this one, we are following Allie, who is a nurse who lives on her own with her cat, um, and has a crush on a TikToker, and he ends up finding out, and TikToker Josh then breaks into her house and inserts himself in her life. This one is a dark romance. I gave it 5 stars and 5 chili peppers, um, because of the. I just had a great time with this one, and there is a lot of adult material in this one. But my favorite part of this book had nothing to do with any of the adult material in here. The tropes of this one include masked TikTok crush, stalking, mafia ties, morally gray MMC, banter, primal play, and my favorite part, Fred the cat. Every tab that I have on this one is in relation to Fred the cat, who Josh immediately goes from not liking animals to adopting Fred, Allie's cat. One of my favorite quotes in this one was, "Excuse you, sir. You better not talk to your mother like that when I'm not around." So a lot of fun with this one. And the banter between Allie and Josh is just great. Had a great time with it. Um, this one is part of a series. The next one is caught up. I have not started that one yet because I believe it follows different characters, and I am okay with not jumping into that one like I did with Sweetly Unhinged and Beautifully Ruined, which Sweetly Unhinged ending on that cliffhanger led me to immediately want to start Beautifully Ruined. So, the next book I read during the month of February was Mountain Boss by S.J. Tilley. This one includes the tropes of workplace romance, boss and employee, age gap, curvy plus size FMC, possessive MMC, and found family. I will honestly say that while our main character, Courtney, is considered a curvy plus sized FMC, it's really didn't seem to be as big of a trope, or as big as a representation in this as I would think, if that is considered one of the tropes. But to each their own. This one I gave 4.5 stars and 4 chili peppers. And this one is a contemporary romance. I did write in my review that I enjoyed this one more than I thought I would. And part of that is because I'm really in a fantasy kind of mind frame right now, or a dark romance, not really the contemporary romance type right now, but I did enjoy this one, and did not want to put it down as I was reading. So this was January's Probably Smut book box pick. So if you want to know more, I would check that one out there. Up next in February, I read Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder. This one I gave 5 stars and 3 chili peppers. This one is a new adult fantasy that reads like the vocabulary and the magic system and all of that reads very much like a YA, but there are some themes in there that I would not recommend for the 12 to 18 teenage or YA reader group. This one includes fated mates, enemies to lovers, secrets, lies, and betrayals, one bed, horse, boat, depending on the situation, and a big plot twist. I really, like I said, I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars, but it leaves on a huge cliffhanger. And there's a lot in this. Like, I think I'm going to reread this one when the next book comes out in May, because the plot twist in this comes so unexpectedly that I want to reread it and see um, if there are any hints to the plot twist that I missed the first time through it because of just enjoying the fantasy ride. The main characters are very lovable, but they do have major character flaws, and I am left really wondering where the next book is going due to the twist in the end. All right, so in this one, we have Bryn, who lives in this community that has been exiled from the mainland, and they live on boats, and they get to go once a year to the annual market, and as part of their like graduation ceremony, the soldiers get to go to uh, the annual market once a year. And in this, she has an encounter with an enemy soldier and has to deal with the aftermath of the things that she encountered there. And in this, there's a lot kind of going on that I'm having a hard time even piecing it together because of how the twist at the end just really left me reeling. So Bryn and her friends make this promise to stick together no matter the consequences, and some of those consequences include Bryn leaving everything that she has known and finding out some interesting things about her life, her early life, that she didn't know. So, the Fire and Metal series, book 1, Metal Slinger, I would really recommend waiting until May when the next book comes out, because you are going to want to pick up the next one immediately afterward due to the twist at the end. Next on my list of what I read in February was To Steal a Bride by Daniela A. Mara. This one I really enjoyed, or mostly enjoyed. I gave it 4 stars and 3 chili peppers. Again, this one is not heavily sexualized. So that was a nice refreshment, especially after all the dark romance I read. This is a new adult fantasy romance, though, and includes the tropes of fated mates and touch her and die. Um, Also forced proximity and um, enemies. It says enemies to lovers, but it didn't really. I don't know that I would say enemies necessarily just because of the situation going on in here. But in this one, we have Estella, and she has been a slave to the giant king. And her life has just been horrible as a slave. So her goal, her only hope is to escape with her brother, with her half brother, um, into the realm of the elves. And in the process of trying to escape, she ends up in the troll empire. And the troll king finds that he is mated to her. And so, or fated, that they are fated mates. And so the troll king kidnaps her from the giants and tells her that she's free, but that she can't leave because they are fated mates. I really enjoyed the world building in this one and the magic system. Estella, as you read the book, deals with not only slavery but sexual harassment, and the troll king Tio ends up doing everything that he can to save and protect her from her oppressors. It does end on a cliffhanger, but I have not started the next book yet. I can't remember if that's because the next one's not out or if I just couldn't find it at the moment. So, this is one that honestly I wasn't led to like I didn't have that burning desire to start the next one right away. So, this might be one that I don't finish the series just because I have so much on my want to read list. But very interesting world building, and I really enjoyed that part of this title. The last book I read for fun during the month of February was Fake It Till You Made It. One thing I did notice throughout all of my reading, and especially the closer we got to the end of the month, had to do with the not fun reading I was doing. And so I really used my personal reading to counteract the hard topics that we were dealing with in my required reading. So this one, Fake It Till You Made It, I gave 5 stars and 3 chili peppers. This is a mystery book. I did not put who the author was in my journal. But this one is a possum. Why am I going blank? It's a possum shifter book, includes fated mates, and has that cozy mystery feel. There we go. This one's by Sarah Spade. So in this one, we have Honey, and she lived in the non-magical world for a while, and after she wakes up in the morgue for the 3rd time, decides that it's probably time to move back to one of these areas that are all magical beings. And so she moves to Moonborough, where she takes over her grandmother's bakery. And in the process, she meets the sheriff of Moonborough, who she has realized is her mate. The only downside to this is her mate is a predator and she is a prey shifter. Um, and so she tries to mask her scent so he won't figure out that she's his mate and possibly reject her. But then a body ends up behind her shop, or behind her bakery, and she and Max, the sheriff, end up teaming up together. I really enjoyed this one, and I had so much fun. The Similar to with Lights Out, kind of my favorite character in this is not one of our main characters. It was Gus, Honey's pet possum. And I really loved, especially at the beginning of each chapter, you have this little snippet from Gus's point of view. And one of them include, Mother has abandoned Gus. Jail for Mother. Jail for a million years. So really enjoyed this mystery, and I can see myself dipping my toes into Moonborough more in the future when I'm craving that cozy mystery. All right, and that leads me to the final book that I read in February. And this one actually I read for like the entire month of February in bits and pieces because of how heavy the material is. And that was George Orwell's 1984. This is a title that I assign in my British literature, and it is a title that is nice because it kind of shows you in a safer way, in a non-real way, I guess, of that here's what can happen when you allow total control to a group of people of everything, or when a group of people takes over everything. This is Orwell's kind of, it's a dystopian that plays with the communist themes that Orwell was seeing in World War II. So really, it's a novel that has a lot of hard material in it. If you don't know this one, we are following a character named Winston who works at the Ministry of Truth and knows that his entire life is being watched by Big Brother. And through this, he decides that he's going to rebel against Big Brother a little bit and starts a relationship with one of his party members, Julia. And so you kind of have, it's divided into three parts. Part one is following Winston before he starts this relationship with Julia. The second part is his relationship with Julia. And then the third part is kind of the aftermath of that. There's a lot of things in here that are very timely, and there are a lot of terms in here that have become part of our everyday language or our everyday culture without people even realizing it. And there are always parts that I find out that are becoming a part of our world. But this one has become kind of one of those that hits really close to home as far as the things that we're seeing in government around us, and can be very hard to read, thus all the fun reading for the month. So let's wrap up by looking at my story graph stats. So looking at my generated wrap up for this, according to them, I read 9 books. And some of that is because that Rake Forge Royals duology, I had a bound copy, and so Storygraph only counted that as 1 book. I was counting it as 2 titles. And then the other is Fake It Till You Made It. I actually finished on March 1st. I only had a little bit left in the, I was at 92%. So I went ahead and counted it for February. I know that will skew my numbers just a little bit when I do March, but that's okay. They do, as far as pages, I read 3,798 pages. This is very exciting to me, especially after not reading as much during 2025. Then they now do first, middle, and last. My first book of the month, according to Storygraph, was Mate. My second book, or my middle book, was Beautifully Ruined, and my last book was To Steal a Bride. And so, again, those are a little bit skewed with me not finishing Fake It Till You Made It until March 1st, but that's okay. Looking at my average book length was 415 pages, and average time to finish was 8 days. So overall, I'd say I had a great reading month, and I will continue reading and let you know how March goes. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.